Hello everyone. So in this particular video we are going to start with our Azure data engineering project number 1. Okay, and this will be a complete end-to-end data engineering project, how actually we work in a real-time industry also. Okay, so we have a couple of requirement. Based on the requirement, first we will try to understand the requirement. Based on that we will try to see how actually we can design our and develop our data pipeline. Everything we are going to learn in the particular video. What is the best approach which we can follow, everything we are going to learn in this particular video. If you are new in this channel, please do like, please do support, and please do comment if you want me to post more video like this. Okay, so let us start with the requirement first. The one of the most important thing is to understand the requirement, because once you will be able to understand the requirement, only you will be able to develop your data pipeline. So in an industry also, our first and most important thing is to understand the requirement. Okay, so let us try to understand the requirement, what it is saying. First point is saying like we have a Azure blob storage account where we are getting all raw data into employee department in a JSON format. So let us try to understand what actually it is saying. Like we have a raw container. Okay, we have a raw container. In this raw container we are getting all the raw data. We are getting all raw data. Suppose we are getting a employee and a department data. Okay, so we are getting employee.json file here. Okay, we are getting employee.json file here, we are getting department.json file here. Okay, means we are getting all employee and department raw data into this particular raw container. Okay, so that actually it is saying the point number 1. Okay, the second point it is saying like we need to create a pipeline and need to schedule it on a daily basis, which will pick the data from a raw container to a specific employee and a department container, and we need to dump the file in a CSV format. Okay, so let us try to understand. So we have a employee.json file, we have a department.json file that is available in a raw container. Okay, we also have employee container and department container, right? So what actually we have to do, we have to pick this employee.json file. Okay, we have to pick this employee.json file and we have to pick this department.json file, and employee.json file we need to store into a employee container which we have. We can see like we have employee container also, right? So that actually we have to store into the employee.csv. Okay, all the employee file will go to the employee container, and all the department.json file will go to the department container in a department.csv. dpt.csv. Okay, for that we need to create a pipeline and we need to think the approach how actually we can do it. Okay, and if I will say this is my employee container, this is a employee container, and this is my department container. I hope you got it. So we have a raw container where we have all the data employee.json and department.json. What we have to do, we have to pick the employee.json file and we have to convert this JSON file into a CSV file, and we have to store into the employee container. All the employee data will go to the employee container, all the department data will go to the department container. That is the requirement. For that we have to create a pipeline, that it is saying like point number 2. I hope you got it. Now let us try to understand the point number 3. We need to create a pipeline which will be able to join the employee and department file based on the department ID, and we need to store into a employee department container. Okay, now we have a employee.csv and department.csv, right? We have a employee.csv and the department.csv. Now our third requirement, it is saying like what we have to do, we have to join these two particular file. We have to join these two particular file with the help of the pipeline. We need to join it. Okay, we need to join it, and we need to store this particular file into our employee department container. This is our employee department container. Okay, here on a single file we will be having both the information of the employee and the department. So that is the requirement which is saying like point number 3. Now what point number 4 is saying like we should be able to save aggregated information of total department wise employee salary and group by job ID. Okay, so let's try to understand. Okay, what we have to do, after joining, one file will get stored into employee department, right? That part is clear. Now what we have to do, after joining the another file, what it actually it will do, it will do a aggregation. It will do a aggregation. It will do a sum of the salary. Sum of the salary. Okay, and it will group by the department. Mean department wise, what is the sum of salary and job ID, that kind of the information it will save into this aggregated container in a CSV file. Okay, and that we have to store it. Okay, after joining we have to perform aggregation and we have to store into the aggregated container. So that is the requirement which is saying like point number 4. I hope you got it. Okay, so we understand like we have a blob storage, we have a multiple file, employee department file is available. We need to create a pipeline which will pick the data and it will okay, so we have a storage account, we have a multiple container. From the raw container we need to pick each file and we need to store into each container. That is our one requirement. And after that we have to join these two container files. Okay, and then we have to store into employee department. Okay, after joining we have to do some aggregation, that will go to the aggregated container. So that is the requirement we have to do, and we have to think about the approach, how actually we can pick each file from the storage account, and how actually we can store into a employee.csv and department.csv into a employee and a department container. So that is our first approach that actually we will think it. I hope you got the requirement. Now we will think about the design and development. Okay, now let us think about the design and the development approach. Okay, now let us think about that. Okay, so what is our first requirement is like, we have to go to the raw container. And we have to search for the file. Okay, so this is my raw container. In this raw container I will be having a multiple files, right? Employee.json, department.json. What will be my first approach is like, to go to this raw container and I have to search for all the file, and I have to get the information about whether it is a employee.json file or whether it is a department.json file. So how actually we can get that information? So we have a get metadata activity. In a Azure Data Factory. This will give you all the metadata information. About the particular storage account. So we can use a get metadata activity. Now we have to do it multiple times. We have to iterate it, right? Because we can have a multiple file here. So how actually we can iterate it? So for that we will use a for each activity. What we will use? We will use a for each activity, because we have to check for each file what is the metadata information, right? So we have to do it for each file. We have to do it and we have to store into each container, right? So what we will do, we will pick each file based on the certain condition. What we will perform? We will perform a copy activity. Okay, so under the for each, what we will do, we will check the metadata information. Okay, after the metadata information, what we will do, we will check whether we have a if condition activity. With the help of the if condition activity, we will check whether it is a employee.json file. If it is a employee.json file, then we will perform a copy activity and store into an employee container. And if it is a department.csv file, then we will store into a department container. Okay, so how actually our pipeline will look like, let me show you. So this is my raw container, and this will be my raw container, employee.json file, department.json file. Okay, what I will do, I will use a get metadata activity, and I will use a for each file. Okay, get metadata activity I will use. Okay, for each file I will perform I will check the if condition. I will check the if condition activity. If condition, I will put condition like if the file name is employee.json, then I will perform a copy activity and I will move into the employee container. If it is a department.json, then I will move into the department container. Okay, so that is the approach. And the second pipeline is very simple. In second, once we have a data employee.csv employee and department container, what we will use, we will just use a data flow. In a data flow, we will perform a join. With the help of the join, we will store into one container, that is a employee department container. In second container, what we will do, we will perform a aggregation logic, and based on that we will try to store into aggregated container. So that actually we will do. Okay, we will do a practical so that we will get more information, more idea about it. Now let us start with our practical part. So let me go to my blob storage. If I will show you, this is my blob storage account, and here I have a multiple container. If I will show you aggregated container, no data as of now. Similarly department also we have no data as of now. Only in a raw container I have a data, that is a department.json and the employee.json. If I will show you this employee.json file, if I will go to the edit, you can see all the employee ID, all the information we have. Similarly in department.json also we have it. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to convert this department.json into a department.csv, and we have to store into a department folder. Similarly for the employee also. So for that, what we have to do, I will go to the data factory, I will create a new pipeline. Okay, in a new pipeline I will search for the get metadata, so that first we should go to the blob storage and we should be able to get the file name. Okay, that is our first purpose. How actually we can get the get metadata information about the particular storage account? With the help of the get metadata activity. I will go to the setting, I will create a new data set. Okay, I will go to the blob storage, continue. My file is available in a JSON, so I will select that, continue. The file I will give the raw container JSON. So this is the name I am giving. I will try to select the link service. Click on the new. I will select the subscription. I will select my blob storage account and I will create the link service. Okay, so link service will now ready. Now where actually our file is, I will select the raw container. Here actually our file is available. Okay, now I will click on the OK. I haven't selected any file. Okay, now our data set is now ready. Now what we have to do, we have to select the field list. So in a field list we have a couple of columns. So what we have to select, we have to select the child items. This child item, what actually it will go and it will iterate and it will give you all the information, whatever the file which is available into the particular container. Okay, so that's why I have selected the child item. Now what we will do, we will try to debug it. So because while debugging only we'll get to know our pipeline is success or not. Okay, whether we are doing correct or not, based on the output only we will try to check and we'll try to go further. Okay, that is the best approach. So I click on the debug, it is debugging. Once it will success, you will get information. Now let's see. So this is now succeed. Now let us see. In a child item we are getting all the information like the name and type. We can see department.json, this is file. Employee.json, this is also a file, and we are getting in a dictionary in a JSON format. So this is the name, actually we can use it, child item name, for the file name information, right? So what we will do, we are going to iterate it, right? So for that we will use a for each activity. So I will use a for each. I will select that, I will try to connect it. Okay, now in a for each, what actually we will pass, go to the setting, we are going to do sequential wise. So I will select that. In item we will pass the dynamic value. Okay, here what we will pass the output of the get metadata activity, right? So I am passing the output of the get metadata activity which we are doing it. So I have selected this get metadata child item, so I am getting the output of the get metadata activity that we are going to pass it. Now what we will do, we will try to, you can see here we have activity, right? So I will select the activity. Now here I will check the file name. So for that I will use a if condition activity. I will double click on the if condition activity. Okay, I will go to the activity. Here we have to pass the expression. Okay, so I will click on the add dynamic content, and here what actually I will pass, I will pass the whether our file contain the employee JSON or not. So @ contains. Okay, and item dot name. This item dot name will come from the our get metadata file name. Okay, and I will check the whether it contain the employee dot json or not. Item dot name. Okay, so what actually I am doing, I am checking item dot name, it is coming from our get metadata activity, right? The whatever the name value, that is our file name. Okay, and I am checking whether it contains the employee.json or not. If it contains the employee.json, means our activity will be true. Okay, otherwise it will be false. Okay, now let's try to debug whether it is success or not, then only we will move further and we will try to add a more activity like the copy activity. So I click on the debug option now. Let's see whether it is success or not. Okay, once it will be true, then what actually we will do, we will perform a copy activity and we will try to store into a employee container, otherwise we will store into a department container. That is how the logic we are applying. Now you can see it is all succeed. So I'll click on the if condition, double click. Now we will add it in a true condition. What actually we want to do, true means it is a employee.json file, right? So I will use a employee copy a data. What will be our source? I'll create a new data set, Azure blob storage, continue, and my file is in a JSON format, so I'll select that. I'll use the same link service. Okay, file path, from where, from the raw container this particular file will come. Okay, okay, click on the OK, and I'll click on the file name and I will use a employee dot, because which file I want to transfer, I want to transfer employee.json file, so that's why I selected that. Okay, we can pass it dynamically also, but as of now I am just passing it, hard coding it. Okay, but we have to pass it in a dynamic only. Now sync, where actually we want to store, we want to store into a in a txt format. So I'll select that, I'll select the same link service and I will store into a employee folder, employee container. Okay, first row as header, click on the OK. Now our copy data activity is ready for the each condition. Okay, now when actually it is getting false, then what actually I will do, I will use again a copy activity, and this time I will store into a department file. Okay, department container. What is my source file? Source file is nothing but our department.json file. So I will use the raw container and I will use a department.json file, that is my source. Okay, when actually it is when our condition is getting false, then it will go and it will store into a department container. So for that sync location I will add it, blob storage. I want to store in a delimited text. I will use the same link service and I want to store into a department container, so for that I will select that. Okay, click on the OK, and first row as header, click on the OK. Okay, this I have done it very fastly, but do look multiple times so that you will get more idea. Okay, so now my pipeline is now ready. If condition, I have added a two activity. So what actually it is happening, first with the help of the get metadata I am getting the all the child items file name and all. Okay, in for each what actually I am passing in activity, I am passing the for each condition. In a for each condition, if I will show you, go to the setting, this is the condition I am passing output of the get metadata activity. Under this for each I am using the if condition. If the item contain the employee.json file, then I will move and store into an employee container, otherwise I will store into a department container. So let me try to debug it whether it is success or not. If it is success, then it will get stored into our employee container. Okay, so let's wait it to be completed. We can see our get metadata activity is now succeed. Okay, if I will show you the output of the get metadata activity, it will show you the department.json and employee.json file. Okay, that is succeed. Now let's see other activities getting succeed or not. You can see the copy activities also succeed. If I will show you the output, these are the file actually it got stored. Let's wait all it to be completed so that we can check it. Our file will get stored into an employee container and the department container. Okay, based on the condition. Now everything is succeed. I will go to the blob storage. I will go to the department. I will see whether our file is available or not. I will refresh it. You can see department.txt is there. If I will show you the file, all the department file is available here. Okay, similarly I will show you in an employee folder. I have a employee.txt format. So our this pipeline is running fine. Now what we will do, we will try to apply a join, right, from the employee and a department container. That was our next task. So our next task was we need to create a pipeline which will be able to join the employee and a department file. Okay, so what we have to do, we will try to create a new data flow. Go to the data flow, click on the new data flow, add a source. What is our first source? I will create a new data set for that. That will point to the this is our CSV file. So I will select that. Link service is same, but our file location is employee folder. So I will select the employee.txt file, first row as header. This is my file. Click on the OK. Now you can see in here okay, in a source you can see we have a, if you want to debug it, go to the click on this data flow debug and data preview. You can preview it. Okay, but one thing you have to remember, whenever you use a CSV file, right, so all the column actually it treat as a string format. Okay, but our employee ID is integer, so I will convert into an integer. Salary also I will convert into an integer. Okay, so make sure you will convert into a proper format, otherwise it will give a error. Salary also I converted. Job ID also I will convert into integer. Similarly you can convert other also. Department ID also I will convert into integer. Okay, now our source is ready. If you want to preview data, go to data preview, you will be able to see your data. Now let's add our second source. What is our second source? Second source is department file. So for that I will create a data set, delimited text. I will use the same link service. I will use a different container, that is a department container, and this is the particular file. For that we have created a data set, first row as header. Click on the OK. This second source is also ready. Go to the projection. Department ID I will convert into an integer, and location ID also you can convert, manager ID also you can convert integer. Okay, now what we will do, we will apply a joining. We will click on the plus. You can see we have a join condition. In a join, if I will click, you can see what is your left stream. First source is source 1. Right stream you want to join with the source 2, right? And we want to apply a inner join condition. Based on which condition we want to join? We want to join based on the department ID. Let's see, let me open department ID. Based on the department ID we are applying a inner join. Only the common record, if you want to preview that, debug that, you will be able to see. You will be having a department ID also, department related information also you will be having. Okay, now if I will show you, this is our employee information and this is all the department information, and this actually I want to store into a, I will add a sink where actually I want to store. For that I will create a data set. I want to store into a in a CSV format. Use the same link service, and I want to store into a employee department container, first row as header, and click on the OK. Okay, so what we have done, we are actually combining the employee and department, and we are storing into a one of the container. Okay, so that was actually our requirement also, to join the employee and department and store into employee department container. So that we have done. We should be able to save aggregated information also, so for that also we will use. So after joining we will apply some aggregation logic. So after join, right click on the plus, okay, and after that we will apply some aggregation logic. So let's search for the aggregate, you can see. So it got added here only, but we don't want to add here. Okay, so let me select plus, let me add another sink also. You can see I have added another sink. Before that what I will do, I will use a aggregate. It got okay. So this is our sink 2. What is the aggregation we want to apply? We want to sum based on the department name. We want to sum based on the just a minute, we want to do aggregation. Okay, what is the aggregation we want to apply? For that we will select the column. I think this is a salary column. I'll use a salary column. Where is the salary column? So this is the salary column. I want to apply a sum of the salary. I want to use a sum of salary. Okay, save and finish. Okay, salary column. Okay, this is the aggregation we want to apply, sum of the salary, and we want to group based on the department name. Okay, let me zoom it. I want to group based on the department name. Okay, and the job ID also. Okay, I have done sum of the salary group by the department name on the job ID I am doing. Okay, this is the aggregation I am applying. If I will preview the data, you will be able to see the aggregation logic. Okay, let's see what is the result we are getting. You can see based on the each department what is the sum of the salary we are getting. Job ID we are getting null. Okay, so what we will do, okay, I'll go to aggregation. Okay, I will remove the job ID. Okay, because that we don't have any data. So I'll use only the department name and the sum of salary as of now. And finally we will add a sink to where actually we want to store. For that I will create a new location, blob storage. I want to store into a CSV format, and this is the same link service which we are doing from very long time, and I want to store into a department. I want to store into aggregated. Okay, click on the OK. First row as header. Okay, now this is our data flow is ready. One aggregation will go to the aggregation container, one the joining file is going to the another sync location. Now what I will do, I will create a new pipeline. I'll click on the pipeline, create a new pipeline. Okay, and I will drag my data flow which I have created it, and I will try to debug it, so it will transfer our data. Now it is debugging. Once it will success, you will be able to see data into a particular container. Okay, let's wait it to be completed. Now we can see our data flow is now succeed. Now let me go to the container. Now let me go to the employee department. Here we have our file which is available. Okay, if I will show you the file, it will be the combination of both. You can see department ID, department name, and the employee information, all the things we have. Okay, means our pipeline is running fine. And the aggregation also I will go aggregated. This got stored into a part file partition. I'll go to the edit, and in this we don't have anything, but let's see. Okay, this was a 0 byte. Let me open this, go to the edit. You can see the department by the sum of the salary aggregation thing we are getting. Okay, so that's how actually our pipeline is working fine. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay, thank you.